our own origin, we realize Brahman. Within this body, in this life, ihaiva, the Upanishad will say again and again. So that is how our philosophy started. Very, very rational, very, very practical, highly spiritual. When our realization of Brahman comes, what happens to that person? Brahmajnani. What happens to him? He is something indescribable. Though within this body, a tremendous realization has come. He remains the same physically. He looks the same. But inside, infinite stuff is there. The supreme reality is there. The external is not a real measure of the internal that is there. When you see a Buddha, just an ordinary human being, a Ramakrishna or a Jesus, a carpenter's son, but inside, something infinite is pulsing there. What is only a spark in us is a glowing thing in such great people. That is how we undertook this investigation into the nature of the universe, nature of the reality behind the universe, nature of our own physical and mental system, and the goal of life to realize our true nature. We are essentially the Atman, one with Brahman. That is our true nature. Our alignment is with God, not with his matter around us. This man is not a piece of matter. Matter is a servant. Spirit is a master here. So these things come out of this teaching in this Yajnavalkya and Gargi conversation. That subject came. If space is what everything gets reduced to, what is that to which the space can be reduced? A final step that you take. Then he said, that akshara, the immutable, the imperishable, Brahman. That is the final thing. Etasavya aksharasya prashasane Gargi said, by that akshara, the imperishable Brahman, the world is set in order. Sun and moon and stars, all there is order. We can study nature. What is physics, what we do? We study the laws that govern the physical world. Chemistry, we do the same thing. So also in biology or cosmology, trying to find out the laws that govern this world. Some orderliness is there. Let us discover that orderliness. There is both in the universe. There is chaos and there is order. Both are there. The whole thing is balanced. A wonderful study. If you find that every day energy is getting exhausted, as any mechanics will say, but at the same time, new energy can be taken from outside. That is the nature of a human life. We spend energy, we get energy. We get a stable system. This is a very rare thing. In the world, only a non-physical system can be like this, the living system. That's something very unique. We are spending energy, we are gaining energy, we become a stable system. That stability is not part of the universe. It's always subject to this kind of continuous instability. But both are there. Now all these are being studied today in the physical sciences, the orderliness of nature and the chaotic conditions of nature. Chaos is a big subject of study. A whole book is written on chaos. Such a thick book on chaos. What a wonderful study, chaos. Our country is a good subject for study, chaos. You can see that. So they discover this in human society, chaos. So also in nature there is chaos. Study the clouds, there is chaos there. That is the start of the study. Chaos became a subject of study about 20 years ago by a scientist studying the nature of the clouds. And they found the importance of chaos. And the whole book is chaos. Fascinating reading. And yet very deep, from the physical science point of view. So we have all this. Behind all this, we discovered a mind, pure consciousness, awareness or knowledge. That is Brahman, Chit Swarupa, of the nature of Chit or awareness. That Brahman's presence is felt in the world by the way the world is conducted. Therefore, from the effect, we see the cause. That is called our inference. But more than that, we can realize this Brahman. That's what the Upanishad said. He is within you. You have come from him. The cause exists in the effect. Therefore, in the effect also you can see the cause by a little inward penetration. That is the subject that was studied here. So in this particular mantra of Yajnavalkya's reply to Maitreyi, that subtler than Akasha is Brahman. The whole world can be related to Akasha. Today's relativity theory. One big step physics took when Einstein unified space and time. They are not separate. Space-time. Space-time is the only reality that is there. But what is the sun? A configuration of space-time. See the language used in physics. Sun or Earth or the galaxies, they are only configurations of space-time. A little curvature of space-time, another word that is used. Curvature of space-time. Space-time is going like this, as a stripe, where there is sun, there is a curvature. Then another curvature. These are only curvatures of space-time. Now all this shows what you call Akasha here is the space-time in physics today, where you have merged all things into that. There is no separate things in the world today. All the separate things only event in that space-time. Wonderful language. Time is not separate. Time is integrated with space. We cannot imagine how to integrate time with space. It's not imaginable. But physics discusses it and gives you a theory, asks you to work out that theory. To some extent, we can understand how you combine space and time. When you combine space and time, it becomes space-time with a dash. And then, whatever happens is not discrete events, but one single space-time configuration, and we call them events. Say, for example, if you combine space and time, how to picture it in mind? Physics gives you an example. You are traveling to Vijayawada. You start from Hyderabad, then you have a graph paper. There you send a line. Time dimension one line. Space dimension one line. That is the two lines there. And this is a starting point. Now every hour you are moving. Put a point there in terms of the time as well as the distance. Make a point, but finally up to that it goes. And then you make a line. This line and this line remains. But your line is this. That the event of your movement is called that particular journey, where space and time become combined as it were. That is called that particular graph line, from this point to that point. Every minute you are here, you are there, you are there. Everything is mapped out there. Every mile is mapped out there. And therefore, your journey becomes an event in space-time. It's not a separate item. So everything is only an event in space-time. Things disappear. Events alone remain. Because the word time, whenever time enters, it becomes event. When there is no time, it is a thing. This table, this person, that person, these are all separate. But as soon as time enters, it is movement. When you have a movement, just like a cinema picture, constant movement going on. There is no item there. It's all events only you find in a film. Similarly in life, becomes a configuration of space-time. There's a language. Now, what is behind space-time? That is not understood in today's cosmology. The whole of space-time becomes condensed into the background material. That becomes highly dense. And one day it exploded and developed this universe. That is how they will say today. For us, we can accept that background material. But it is not background enough for us. We go one step further. That pure consciousness, the absolute Brahman, that becomes necessary to explain the further activities of this background material. That is how our cosmology adds to whatever cosmology we have today. Our detail of cosmology, we often go wrong, as you have seen many places here. The broad issue is perfectly correct. Details are being better worked out in today's cosmology. But the broad issues, we are still on the top on this question, and you can expect our own modern cosmologists coming to our concept of cosmology in course of time. As I quoted Fred Hoyle some Sundays ago, that he who believed in purely materialistic universe, he changed his opinion and he said without intelligence you cannot explain cosmology. So he wrote a book, The Intelligent Universe, that will be nearer to our Vedantic way of explaining cosmology. There is intelligence behind this universe. If you accept that, you are fully in Vedanta. That is slowly entering into modern astrophysics and cosmology. So here, Yajnavalkya answered Gargi, and now he continues this particular discussion in verse 3, 8, 10. We enter that verse. This is a very famous statement. Yova edadaksharam gargi aviditva asman lokhe juhoti yajate tapastapyate bahuni varsha sahasrani anyadeva antavadevasya tadbhavati yova etadaksharam gargi aviditva asman lokat praiti sakripanaha asaya etadaksharam gargi viditva asman lokat praiti sabrahmanaha. It's a very profound observation. The translation says, he, O Gargi, who in this world, without knowing this immutable reality, offers oblations in fire, performs sacrifices, undergoes austerities, even for many thousand years, finds all such acts but perishable. Without knowing the one, all these other things will be absolutely meaningless. They become perishable. That is the first sentence. Then secondly, he, O Gargi, who departs from this world without knowing this immutable reality is miserable. The word is kripana. Kripana actually means a very stingy person. That's a language in Sanskrit and in Hindi, kripana, kripan. But here it means miserable type. But he who departs from this world, O Gargi, after knowing this Brahman, he alone is a Brahmana. There the word definition comes for the first time. First time in our literature, the Brahmana is defined. One who has realized Brahman, he is a Brahmana, nobody else. All the rest are Kripanas as a language. We have to choose between being a Brahmana or being a Kripana. We can try to be a Brahmana by searching for that infinite one as much as we can. We are on the road. Even that is quite beautiful. So, he who departs from this world after knowing this immutable Brahman, he is certainly a Brahmana. It is this Brahmana that is highly praised by Buddha in his Dharmapada. One whole chapter, he is a Brahmana who is pure, who has realized truth. Like that, so many passages you get there. A Brahmana is a state. Every human being can aspire to be a Brahmana, to realize God in this very life. That is the nature. Later on, we convert it into a caste system, into all sorts of special privileges, and ruin the whole thing. Now, slowly, people will understand that those who are spiritual, who have high character, whom you can trust, that person is a Brahmana. That is one great thing we must remember. But we lost it completely, and we have lost it forever. That caste system is not going to raise its head once again hereafter. But this kind of definition will come. Anybody can try to live a moral life, a pure life, unselfish, spirit of service and dedication, and knowledge of the highest reality. As you do so, you are on the Brahmana path. When you achieve it, you are a Brahmana. It doesn't become a caste. Anybody, a Russian or American or European, Indian, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, all can be Brahmana of that type. That is a type, a human type. And Vivekananda says that is the goal of the social process. Sociology must have an aim. But the direction of social process, today's sociology doesn't say so. Our sociology said this: the social process helps you to develop into the Brahmana type. Other types are there plenty, but a few must come to the Brahmana type, who is absolutely free from selfishness, from separateness, who is the servant of all. Brahmana is the servant of all. There is a wonderful language. There is a high tribute to given to this Brahmana ideal in Manusmriti, where there is a caste Brahmana also there, reference to caste Brahmana. But another reference is Brahmano Yayamano Vai Prithivyam Adhijayate Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Dharma Koshasya Guptaye. Vivekananda used to love this particular verse, that when a Brahmana appears, he appears at the top of society. The whole of society will look up to him, the goal of human evolution. And in him, the whole treasury of dharma becomes absolutely protected. Nobody else can protect the treasury of dharma. Dharma koshasya guptaye. Gupti means to protect. Dharma kosha means treasury of dharma. In a person of a Gandhi type, dharma is well protected. There is no need for rules and regulations for the parliament. So dharma koshasya guptaye becomes possible to protect the treasury of dharma of a whole society when it produces a Brahmana type. Any society, the whole world today in sociology, an important subject, what is exactly the evolution of the human being? That is coming in a big way in today's biology. It was not there in the last century. But during the last 100 years, biology has gone far ahead. And today they discuss human evolution is a progressive development to higher and higher levels until you become fulfilled. That fulfilled state is the Brahmana state. The word fulfillment comes in today's biology. And strangely, one of the utterances of Sir Julian Huxley in his very great book, he treated that book as his best contribution in his letter to me. Evolution, a Modern Synthesis, a good book of about 800 pages. Last chapter is Progress in Evolution. Progress is not a scientific word, but it enters into evolution. You cannot do without it. There he says, which all the religious teachers used to say before, the main thing is to see that a mammal within us die so that the man within us can live, is the language. Whatever animality in us must go. Then only human development can come. Now this coming from a biologist is something very unique. And so Huxley gives you a certain direction of evolution. During the last 100 years, evolution has undergone many changes, many rich new developments have come, but on this particular question, Darwin had said nothing. We are saying that. What is the goal of evolution? Darwin established the fact of evolution and some factors of evolution. Now we are establishing the direction of evolution and the goal of evolution. So he says the goal of evolution is fulfillment. Are you fulfilled? And when you do so, quality becomes more important than quantity. In pre-human phase of evolution, quantity is supreme, whereas in the human phase, quality is supreme. So quality above quantity, mind above matter is evolution at the human stage, says Sir Julian Huxley. In all these statements you can see the direction towards which we had wanted our society to go. Men and women become pure, self-restrained, self-disciplined, with compassion of the heart. They become Brahmana. Hundreds of such Brahmanas can make for health of society. They can come from any level of society. But that is the goal. That Brahmanatva is the goal. That is what Vivekananda also said. Brahmanatva is the goal of social evolution. If you develop the Brahmana quality, he can trust you. Absolute trust is possible. Dharma koshasya guptaye. The whole kosha of dharma can be kept in your hands and it will never be diluted or destroyed. So in this way, here we have seen the first time that definition given. When you realize Brahman, the one self in all, how can you become small-minded thereafter? How can you become selfish? How can you become violent? You will be the friend of all, servant of all. You will love all people as yourself. That is the language of the Upanishads. So that is the goal of human evolution. Values come from the deeper level of the human personality. They do not come from outside. They come only from within the human personality. That direction is called the Atman, the infinite Atman. The God alone is the center of all values, and that God is centered in us. So all values come from within, not from outside. You can't handle stones and trees and plants outside to create value. You can manipulate the whole external world through technology. Values do not come from there. Values come from the human spirit. The infinite Atman is the center of all value. We have to generate value from there. That is why I was just reading a recent book, a very interesting title. We thought that our genetic system has coded everything in it. Whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you aspire, whatever you achieve, everything is coded in the genetic system. That was the materialistic point of view that has given to us till now. But now there are scientists who protest against it. They are materialistic, no doubt. But they say, so far as the genetic system is concerned, it cannot help you to generate values in society. At the human level, we need values. Without values, you can't have a human society. But where do you find the values from? Originally, they said it's all given in the genes. In the genes it is there. And this book says, genes do not give you any sanction or any value. Genes are essentially selfish. They are only interested in themselves. That is the last kind of statement given by that author, Dawkins. His book is called The Selfish Gene. Very interesting title. The Selfish Gene. Gene is not altruistic. If at all it supports its own welfare, it may be altruistic, but not for any cause of altruism itself. So if the genetic system doesn't sanction values, where from do you get sanction? The only place is your own inner self, that they don't know anything about it. We know about it. The Atman is the center of all values. Part of that value are called dharma, by which you have an ordered society. That dharma comes from your own awareness, deeper level. So in this way, this Brahman becomes also the dharma that regulates order in society, where we can live a decent life, helping each other through mutuality, interdependence, and create a heavenly condition around us. Man alone can do it. He can make a hell, he can make a heaven. If the genetic system dominates, it will be a hell, because the gene is selfish. If the spiritual system dominates, it will be a heaven. There's a choice before humanity today. That's why these subjects, what we discuss in this context of the Upanishad, they are all of current interest in great scientific thinking. They do not know there is such a dimension. Till now they thought it is only some religious teaching of otherworldly salvation, this and that. No question here. There is no otherworldly salvation. Salvation here itself. Realize your own infinite self in this very world. That's the language used here. And so, when people come to know more and more about this, their thinking will be in this direction. This is the importance of this kind of study. Then when you find a direction given to social energies, that they are becoming more moral, more ethical, more concerned with other people's welfare, more center of peace, then international situation will become better and better and better. This human evolution is what makes for a better world, a better society. This is the problem before humanity today. Will he destroy the whole world? He has got enough energy to destroy this world. But how to make him not destroy the world? How to make the world better and better? That means you must search for your own infinite Atman within you. Evolution is what makes for a better world, a better society. This is the problem before humanity today. Will he destroy the whole world? He has got enough energy to destroy this world. But how to make him not destroy the world? How to make the world better and better? That means you must search for your own infinite Atman within you. Bring out energy from that wonderful dimension. So this was the subject of the Ahmedabad lecture of Sarabhai Memorial Lecture, where this subject came, biology, and what pointing the finger towards this higher development of a human being. Then you can hope that this human being will save the world. He has the power to save it or destroy it. That is his uniqueness. But how to make him save the world? Some new value must come. Where from do they come? They don't come from the genes. Then only it can come from within the human system that has manifested more and more and more. And we have seen great people who became spiritual, they became very compassionate. And Buddha, for example, his infinite compassion came from that spiritual realization. So these are the subjects that are being discussed in various parts of the world. Various new books are coming. But most of the people in the West do not know these great thoughts that lie in these Upanishads. Why speak about Western people? Our own people do not know those beautiful ideas. See, you just saw here how to worship gods and goddesses to get some little favor. That is absolute slavery, say the Upanishads. You are infinitely divine. What are gods and goddesses? They are better class people, like a capitalist who is in society. We fawn upon him to get some benefit. That is all we do. But you forget your own dignity. You are the infinite Atman. Why bow down to others? Why become a slave? That language came in the first book, in this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Don't remain a cattle to the gods. Pashurevam sadevanam. Don't remain so. You don't know your own dignity. You don't know your own infinite nature. When you know that, you will be feeling sorry for the gods. That is what Shankara's commentary quoted. Gods do not want that men and women should go beyond them. They must constantly perform sacrifices, and that fruit will go to sustain the gods. But if they realize the Atman, they will go beyond the gods, which they don't like. They will put some obstacle on your way to realize their truth. Just like a feudal lord will put obstacles, the feudal tenants, from achieving education or development. Because who will be my feudal tenant hereafter? Same language is used in this Upanishad. Don't remain, therefore, a cattle to the gods. Devanam Pashu. See the language. Be free, be free, be free. Realize your own dignity. Full of fear. Our people are full of fear, not knowing the Upanishad. Fear of this God, fear of that God, fear of this trouble. Everything is full of fear. Kya hoga, kya hoga, kya hoga. Because we don't know this wonderful truth, that there is such an energy within us. The Swami Vivekananda said, I preach nothing but the Upanishads. And in this, the wonderful message of strength and fearlessness, feeling of oneness with all, the spirit of service coming out of it. These are the things that can uplift humanity. We need not remain a creature, a jantu. Today we are jantus, creatures, frightened by every little god and goddess in our society. After the one or two verses, you will get the subject. How many gods are there? Some crores. That question is coming. Finally answer. How many gods is there? One. All are reduced to one by Yajavalkya. So, we read these books, we understand our philosophy better, our life will be slightly better, more free from this kind of pettiness, more independent, and also more compassionate, more feeling one with others. That kind of superstition combined with ritual, which has been called religion in India, that will change. A real spiritual development will come. Character development will come. Integration of man with man will come when this knowledge will come. So he said, he is a Brahmana who has realized the truth. He who departs from this world without knowing this immutable, he is miserable, he is kripana. Shankara's commentary says, like a slave, he added. Like a slave. He could have been free. He didn't like to be free. So he is slave to a god here, to a god there. He will go on. Just like we say today, the whole of India must be highly educated. Up to the 8th class, up to the 10th class, all the people of India. Then how many people can go enslaving other people? They cannot. They know their own dignity. Today they are illiterate. We can do anything with them. Treat them as herd of cattle. We do so. Similarly in this human society, when we realize that divine Atman as our true nature, we develop this freedom, this dignity. We shall not be slave. The language is beautiful. Shankara says, who become miserable like a slave, etc. What is slave? And he gives it a little extra definition. Slave, bought for a price. That's called slave. Bought for a price. A human being is a slave, bought for a price, if there is no this spiritual strength. That is why it says, Panakreta iva dasadhi. Panakreta, purchase for pana, dasa, the slave. Don't be like that. That's the language, you say. He who departs from this world after knowing this immutable is a knower of Brahman. Otherwise, we become a slave purchased for pana, or for price. Now, he continues, the same majesty of that supreme, immutable Brahman. Tadva edadaksharam gargi adarshtam drashtru ashrutam shrutru amatam mantru avijñātam vijñātru nānyat atosti drashtru nānyat atosti shrutru nānyat atosti mantru nānyat atosti vijñātru etasminnu khalu akshare gargi akasha otascha protascheti. On this akshara, O gargi, is akasha interwoven. That is the last line. What is that akshara? The rest is a wonderful exposition of the subject. In no philosophical literature of the world will you find this kind of study. If at all you find in some of them, it is taken from here, like Plato and Socrates. A little bit of the Upanishadic ideas went there to the Persian Empire, and you find it there according to various writers. But just see the translation. This immutable reality of Gargi is never seen, but is the witness. It's not an object. It's not a Vishaya. Remember that word. The Atman or Brahman is the seer, not the seen, the witness of everything. Secondly, it is never heard, but is the hearer. It is never thought, but is the thinker. It is never known, but is the knower. There is no other witness but that. There is no other hearer but this. There is no other thinker but this. No other knower but this. Eternal knower, eternal thinker, eternal seer, eternal self. Never an object, never an object. By this immutable, O Garge, is the unmanifested space pervaded, says Yajnavalkya. This is a very high level of thinking. The subject, Vedanta divides all experience into two categories, Vishaya and Vishayi, object and subject. Vishaya means object. Vishayi is the knower, the subject. In the first sentence of Shankara's commentary on the Brahma Sutras, you find this distinction being given. Vishaya, Vishayino. Vishaya and Vishayi. World is divided into two. And we confuse them. We think Vishaya is Vishayi. We think Vishayi, Vishaya. That confusion must go. Discrimination has to come. What is true Vishaya? What is true Vishayi? What is Vishayi's own nature? The self, that is the Vishayi. So, this distinction is there in the whole of experience. The Atman is the Vishayi. The whole world is the Vishaya, object. And when we studied earlier about the eye or sight is of two types. One is the perishable external sight, the other is the imperishable internal sight. Drashtir Vividha, the commentary had said a few verses earlier. This ordinary vision, which may come, which may go, which may become bad, which may become good. But the other vision is perpetual, permanent. That is the witness, that is the Atman. The Atman is ever the seer, never the seen. This is a wonderful study. One small book on Vedanta deals with this subject, and the title also is very, very interesting. Druk, Drishya, Viveka. Whatever we are studying here. Druk, Drishya, seer and seen. Discrimination between the two. That's the name of the book. Druk, Drishya, Viveka. What is the first verse? Very interesting first verse. It says, Rupam, Drishyam, Lochanam, Druk. Tad Drishyam, Druktu Manasam. Drishya, Devartaya, Sakshi, Drigeva, Nadu Drishyate. Form is the object of vision. It's called Rupam, Drishyam. What is seen is form. Then what is that sees it with the subject? The eye is the subject with respect to the form in front of you. This is the subject, that is the object. The eye sees. The eye is really the subject? Not at all. The mind is the subject. Eye is only an object. When you go deeper, various thinking of the mind. Then finally, all the various waves of the mind, they are all drishyam. They are all seen. And the seer, the infinite Atman, the eternal witness, that alone is the seer, and it never is the seen. These are all seer in one context, seen in another context. But the Atman is eternal seer, never the seen. Drigeva, nadu drishyate, is always the drik. There is never been seer. Now this analysis is a profound analysis in psychology. That when you study the mind, its functions, we find deeper and deeper levels of awareness. The last level is this eternal seer. Ever the seer, never the object of seeing. That is the Atman. So he said, never seen, but is the seer or the witness, the Sakshi, the witness. So also thinker, knower. Also there is only one infinite knower. Now this subject comes up in the Gita, in the 13th chapter, when Krishna says, Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. First sloka said, this body is called Kshetra, and the self is the Kshetrajña, the knower of the Kshetra. See the wonderful thing. Mind knows the body. Behind the mind is the self that knows the body. Body is the not self. This is the self. So, idam shariram kaunteya kshetramit abhitiyate. First sloka. Etad yo veta tampahu kshetrajña vida tatvidaha. He who knows this kshetra is called Kshetratnya, knower of the Kshetra. So these two are there in the body, the Vishaya and the Vishayi. So object and the subject. And the next sloka goes a tremendous step ahead. Kshetratnyam cha vimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Know me to be the one Kshetratnya in all the Kshetras. God alone is there as eternal witness, eternal seer. We all think we are seeing. Behind us is the infinite Atman, that is the eternal seer. We are associated with the object of seeing, the body, etc. Therefore we have not realized our true state of being the seer. That realization tells you he alone is the seer, eternal witness, as in our normal language we say, the sun is the eternal witness of the whole solar system. Other things see, this light sees, I see, you see. But the real seer, the sun, the eternal witness, Dinasakshi, the day, the witness of the day is the sun in one description. So these are examples that when we deal with a human being, we study the objects, the body, to go deeper, nervous system, that also has knowledge, go still deeper, to go to the psychic system, that is real knowledge, go still deeper, the Atman, ever pure consciousness, that is the final. Sa kashtha, sa paragatihi, that is the supreme state. There is nothing beyond. The self-luminous Atman is the eternal self. Sagrat vibhatam, always luminous. There is no kind of flickering in that luminosity. Sagrat vibhatam is the world of Brahman, the world of the Atman. That language will come later here. Now it is in this Upanishad that this wonderful study was made. Study of seer and seeing and seen object. Three things are there. Every act of knowledge has three dimensions. First the knower, second the known, third the knowledge process. That's also there. Jnata, Jnatru, you see, and finally also Jnana. These three are there. Triputi they are called. Three forms. They are one and the same. They are all aspects of one and the same. Subject, object, and the connecting link, jnana, they are one and the same, ultimately. But at this stage, we see them separately. Just like when you see in electricity, when they first discovered, men like Maxwell and others, they divided, converted all of them into field, electrical field. Then all these are only configuration of the field. Object, subject, everything is only configuration of the electric field. The field theory in electromagnetic system is the first wonderful discovery about converting all the particular items into one unity of a field. That field became greater. Today we call it the nuclear field. The whole thing is energy in a nuclear system is a field only. And then you see items separately as part of the field. We call knowledge therefore knowledge field. The field of knowledge of a subject and object are two wonderful dimensions. That jnana is Brahman's true nature. Jnana Swarupa is Brahman. The word is Jnana Swarupa. Brahman is knowledge, we don't say. Brahman is Jnana itself. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Brahman is Jnana. In that, you made a distinction between a knower and a known and a process of knowing. You abolish all of it and you realize the truth of the field of knowledge, that is Brahman itself. So, Brahman is Jnana Swarupa, Chit Swarupa. Such language you get there. So, he said, there is no other knower but Brahman. Krishna said in the Gita, therefore, know me to be the one Kshetratnya in all the Kshetras. What a wonderful teaching and what a high teaching. How difficult to understand immediately. How can there be only one knower in all these various bodies? I have my own knowledge. Yes, you are right. You have your knowledge. You can go deep into it. Where from this knowledge comes? Any light source can say, I am the light source. But the light finally comes only from one source. That's the Lord himself, the Atman himself. The light of all lights is the Atman. Jyotisham Jyoti. The light here is also light. The light of the sun is also light. But the only light from which all other light will come is called the light of the Atman, Atma Jyoti. That is the subject in the next section of this book. Atmanesha Jyotishahaste Palyayate Karma Gurute. What is the light that lights up everything in this world? To that question, the answer comes. A wonderful passage. In the next book it will come. So here we just saw this idea the subject, the seer, the knower. Things known, we get identified with. The body, for example, is an object. It's never a knower. But we get identified with the body. Anything happens to the body happens to me. That's why we make a mistake. This is, from the very birth, it is there. This is the language of Shankara's Sutra Bhashya commentary. We confuse subject and object, and all human activities are based upon that confusion. We have to separate the object from the subject and deal with the matter thereafter. The body is never the subject, it's only the object. Even the nervous system is not even the mind. The real subject is the Atman, the eternal self, ever pure, ever free, ever luminous, Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta, Swarupa, is the Atman. That's Vedantic teaching. So here you can see a new dimension of the human system. We are ordinary human beings, very weak, but really speaking, we are not that. We are one with the highest. That knowledge, when it comes, greater faith will come, greater confidence will come, greater resource development will come. There is no other way. At present, we don't know that. We think we are petty, we are small. So, in the Upanishad, in the first book, you read that this human being is infinitely strong and powerful if only he or she knew it. The Seya, Vamadeva, realize Brahman, I am one with all. What about common people of today? Upanishad asks that question. Then Shankara answers, Upanishad also answers, so far as the truth of Brahman is concerned, and the capacity to realize Brahman is concerned, there is no difference between giants like Vamadeva and the human weaklings of today. This is the language of the commentary. And the human weaklings of today. The truth is there. Our brain also, the capacity is there. Only we don't turn in that direction. We just ignore it, the whole thing. We are mixture of subject and object. We don't do any discrimination. In this way, we are not able to realize our own true resource within. That is the subject of this section. The next section also will continue this thing, and this particular Gargi question will be ending next Sunday. When we deal with next Sunday, Gargi will be finishing her question, and something interesting she will say at that time. We shall deal with it at that time. Next Sunday, we shall meet as usual. Here we were discussing the dialogue between Yajnavalkya and that great lady, Gargi. We complete that dialogue today in 389. We spoke about that infinite Brahman, and those who realize this truth in this very life, they are the Brahmanas. Those who fail to realize it, they are the Kripanas. Kripana actually means miserable, like a slave, like a creature. Brahmana is free because he has realized Brahman. There is no caste consciousness at this stage. This is the state of life. Anybody can become a Brahmana trying to realize Brahman, the ultimate reality. So here our Gargi tells, we studied a little, verse 10, 3, 8, 10. Yova edadaksharam Gargi aviditva asmin loke juhoti yajate tapastapyate bahuni varsha sahasrani andavadevasya tat bhavati. Those who do various rituals and ceremonies, very elaborate,